great to be with you all today. We have a lot to cover, and I want to talk for the next 58 minutes or so about LinkedIn and how to position yourself on LinkedIn. And I look at LinkedIn as a business tool, not social media. And so that is the context for today's session. And I love how you're dropping into the chat where you're calling in from. Thank you so much. Let's use the chat as a way to interact, ask your questions as you have them. And if I'm going to cover them later, I'll just mention that. But I do love lots of questions and comments. So let's get started. As Jackie said, I'm Colleen McKenna. Our business is Intero Advisory. We're based out of Baltimore, Maryland, and we specifically work only in LinkedIn. So I'm a LinkedIn coach, trainer. We've worked with tens of thousands of individuals, more than 600 companies, and we do a lot of writing and speaking on LinkedIn. So we look at LinkedIn from a pretty holistic perspective, and we are LinkedIn purists. So that means to us, we work within LinkedIn to create the results that we need for ourselves and our clients. So one of the things that is really important is really jumpstarting your presence on LinkedIn. So I want to just frame what we're going to cover today. And then we have a couple of polls and I want to ask you some questions. First, everything in LinkedIn starts with you as an individual. So how do you stand out and manage your personal and professional brand? And this is really very important, and it's becoming even more important. I don't want you to think about your LinkedIn profile as a business development, as an online resume. I want you to think about it as a business development and marketing tool. I want you to stand out. I want your LinkedIn profile to be no one else's. So nobody could pick up what you have on your profile and drop it on their profile. This is probably one of the areas that people tend to overlook. So we're going to talk about some tips today. And then we're going to talk about your network. So once you look good, and LinkedIn looks at that because LinkedIn's a search engine, it has an algorithm that looks at the content on your profile, and then it looks at the relevancy of your network. So the more dialed in your network is, the more LinkedIn says, oh, this is who this person's connected to. This is the type of network they have. Here's more of those people. I'm going to show you today how to download your network. Has anyone downloaded their network before and really begun to dive in and look at how they're connected to the people that they're connected to? Nurturing that network is really important. And so what we want to do is I want to show you how to do that so you can have some next steps. Everything that we do today in this session, you should be able to pull out one or two nuggets and action those particular topics so that you can further your branding and business development initiative on LinkedIn. I'm going to talk about identifying centers of influence. And one of the things that we find when we look at people's networks is they're actually not connected to their clients and customers. So I want to make sure that you leave with the understanding of, if I build a strategic network, that's going to unlock more of the right people. So it's never about having the biggest network. It's about having a highly engaged network. And I want everybody to be known and recognized for their expertise. And that goes back to what's on your LinkedIn profile, but it also comes into play when we're talking about how you engage on LinkedIn. And all of these things really come together to build a stronger presence. Even if you say, you know what, I'm not going to use LinkedIn every day and I'm not in business development, there's a lot of information you can gain from being in LinkedIn, looking at what your clients and customers are doing, looking at some of your competitors, looking for talent. I recognize many people may not be hiring. For the last 4 years, that's really been a huge focus. Now, I want you to consider that even though you're not hiring today, it's important to still be connecting with potential talent. So all of these things come together so that you elevate not only your position and your presence on LinkedIn, but that you begin to create greater visibility for yourself and your company within your network. All really important. Jackie, can you share our first poll, please? Would love to get some insight on people on the call today. What is your primary purpose when using LinkedIn? Are you mostly on LinkedIn for personal branding, business development? Are you managing LinkedIn for your company so it's more marketing? Are you taking courses? Is it sharing content, recruiting? And we'll give people about 45 seconds and then we will take a look at the results. It's always so interesting to see how people are using LinkedIn, and then we'll have one more poll after that for how often you're using LinkedIn. And Jackie, when you're ready, if you can share those results, that would be terrific. Great. Okay. So more than 56% of the people here today are in business development. And then you'll see it's personal branding. This is terrific. I come to LinkedIn with a sales and business development background. It's how I see LinkedIn. I don't think that there's a better business development tool that I've ever used. And it's really all about turning your network into a referral engine. So that's what we want to walk away with today. Jackie, can you initiate the second question, please? How often are you on LinkedIn? So people assume because I'm a LinkedIn trainer and coach that I must be on LinkedIn all day. I'm probably never on LinkedIn for more than 5 or 10 minutes at a time. However, I'm in and out of LinkedIn all day. I'm very purposeful with what I do. Everything that I do on LinkedIn has, and there's an intentionality behind it. And so I can be in and out of LinkedIn quickly. If you are using LinkedIn for business development, you might need to be in there 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour a day, depending on what you're doing and how you've set up your plan. So let's see those results. Okay. So what we see is 3 to 5 times per week, 25%. So that just nudges out the multiple times per day. Great. Once a day, 18%. So we've got some people who are using LinkedIn pretty often, which is terrific. I'm hoping everybody knows who Gary Vee is. I just love this quote. And if you don't, look him up. He's quite a personality. But he says your job is to tell your story. And that resonates with building a LinkedIn profile that really helps you get beyond the kind of buzzwords and that online resume that I already talked about. Reid Hoffman, who's the co-founder of LinkedIn, says if you're not receiving or making introductions once a month or so, you're probably not leveraging your extended network. So I'm going to talk about first level connections today, and I'm going to show you once again how to download them. But then it's really expanding our network and finding those second and third level connections. How many of you would say that you're actively making or asking for introductions through LinkedIn on a regular basis? You can just drop that right in your chat and we'll take a look at that. This statistic, I think, is particularly important for a number of reasons. And what it speaks to is the value of your network. So I'm seeing that lots of people are not doing that, not doing it as often as they should, fairly passive. Great. Make that an action item. Start to test that. Asking for introductions will help you. On average, you're 5 times more likely to get that first call, that Zoom meeting, if you ask for an introduction. Especially now, there's a lot of noise, a lot going on, a lot of people reaching out through LinkedIn. LinkedIn's never been busier, so definitely use that. Robin, at least once a week. Awesome. Terrific. If you haven't changed your name yet, please change your name by just right-clicking and changing your name, and then I'll know who you are rather than webinar attendee if you want to do that. So once again, back to this particular slide. Very often people will call us, they're leading up their LinkedIn initiative for the company, they're in the marketing department, they're like, we need more company page followers. I totally get that. However, the stats show that each employee, each of you will probably have 10 times more first level connections than the company page will have followers. Now, if you're an enterprise level company, that may not be true. If you're in a small to mid-sized company, absolutely, we see that all the time. So your network is particularly important, but actually, okay, Jackie, if they're having issues, no worries, all good. If you are one of those people who realizes that your network's not really kind of dialed in or strategic or relevant to the particular industry you're in now, maybe you've changed industries, we're going to talk about that. We can jumpstart your network in a different way. And I see that very often with people that we train who are in business development. They may have moved from, let's say, healthcare to IT. And so their network is very much healthcare oriented. So we have to kind of look at that, clean that out a little bit, and reposition the network. And it is absolutely something that can be managed over a period of time. We work with lots of clients where we do LinkedIn outreach for them for business development, and we have to immediately jumpstart their network. It just takes a little bit of understanding of who you're already connected to. How many of you have Googled yourself lately? Yes or no? If you have, what shows up? Tell me what shows up when you Google your name. If you haven't, just open another tab or go to a different device and Google your name. If you share your name with a number of other people or celebrity, athlete, author, you're going to have to work a little bit harder, maybe put in your city or your company name. Yes, it's scary. Just sometimes it can be. I see lots of crazy things here. But remember, people very often will go to Google your name. So I want to see, is anybody seeing LinkedIn coming up on the first page? LinkedIn comes up, terrific. Should be coming up in the top, probably 4 or 5 results. Google loves LinkedIn. Why? LinkedIn is a very authoritative website, right? I'm seeing from the chat, first result, very top, second. Perfect. So here, when Google says, okay, LinkedIn is an authoritative website, almost 700 million members on LinkedIn, we know that that should be people's updated professional information. So we're going to give each member of LinkedIn a little bit of SEO love there. So unless you're doing nothing on LinkedIn and a whole lot on other channels, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn should always take priority. It may even take priority over your website if you have an executive bio, just because of that trust rank related to the website. So the question is, if somebody clicks on that link from Google, what do they see? They're going to see your public profile. What pops up? Does it best represent who you are? Does it create context for you? What we want to do with your LinkedIn profile is create context for you, your company, and then have it serve as a way to spark a connection and a conversation. So I'm going to talk about your profile, and I will be jumping into LinkedIn a little bit later. So write an obituary. So there's lots of things that can be popping up. We want to use LinkedIn to control and manage the narrative as much as we possibly can, and that's your professional story. How many of you use LinkedIn more from your phone or tablet than your desktop? So if you just put that into the chat, phone, desktop, 50-50, phone, desktop, laptop, great. I'm seeing a lot of that. I find lots of people in business development and sales, they're sort of just more on their mobile device. Terrific. If you are going to use LinkedIn as a business development tool and be very intentional about working LinkedIn, and especially, and I'll talk about it a little later, Sales Navigator, being on a desktop is going to be a whole lot easier. You're going to be able to do more things. The app does not give you the ability, it is an app, so it's a lighter version. However, more than 70% of people will be looking at your profile from their phone. So we want to design your LinkedIn profile for a small screen, but I, once again, am encouraging you to use your desktop for the work that you're going to do, even updating your LinkedIn profile. And when we think about the app, use that as sort of the, right before I go into a call or jump on that Zoom meeting, whatever it might be, that's when I'm using LinkedIn. I might be responding, but be careful. We see lots and lots of typos as a result of people using their phone and their messaging, and they're trying to be really quick, and there's lots of mistakes. And that's not great in business development if you're trying to talk with somebody who can make a decision about your service and products. So we want you to be really careful here. One of the areas, and we don't have time today, but one of the areas that I really want you to take a look at and spend a few minutes in is your settings and privacy. Most people don't spend any time here, and LinkedIn is always rolling out new features for this area. And this is actually where you begin to craft your experience and your strategy on LinkedIn. I will jump over when we get to downloading your network. I'm going to show you a couple of things, but we are very, very specific about how you are set up in your settings and privacy so that you're protecting your network, perhaps, so that you are being seen by more people. So I will point out a couple, but do spend about 10 or 15 minutes in this area, especially if you haven't done so lately. This is what it looks like, and you can reach most of your settings from your phone or tablet, just a different view, but I just wanted to point out how you would get there. This deck will be available. I have screenshots, as you can see, for pretty much everything we're going to talk about today, so that will be available to you. So once again, let's start with that profile. I'm just going to illustrate a couple of profiles that I think look good. These all have hyperlinks, so you'll be able to jump over to LinkedIn and see them. So here's Russell Smith. He was on a webinar that I did a couple of months ago, and he's got a nice branded image for his company. I think this image came right from their website, but it automatically draws people in. And I would like everybody on the call to have a great background image so that it replaces that very kind of boring blue LinkedIn background image. If you don't have anybody who can help you make those background images, you don't have an art department or a marketing department, check out something called canva.com. I just dropped that right in the chat. Is anybody using Canva? One of my favorite tools, and you can create these background images. Put your logo in there. Start to brand your imaging and your profile right from the top. So Russell looks good. It's a professional photo. He's the only person in the photo. Please make sure you're the only person in the photo. I looked at somebody's photo not too long ago. Their name was Terry. There was a man and a woman in that photo, and the profile was written in the third person. I have no idea who that profile belonged to. Remember, we're trying to create competitive advantage here. You can see that Russell has put in his headline more than just his title. So here he has his title and then a tagline. This could be a value proposition. This could be keywords. I want you to begin to think about keywords that can be woven throughout your profile so that LinkedIn understands who you are and their algorithm is working on your behalf. If we're vague on LinkedIn, then LinkedIn is going to be vague in return. So we don't want to be vague. We want to be very dialed in. Does anybody know what this green circle and smaller white circle represents? This is important. And online, right? So this green circle and white circle means that right now, or when I took this screenshot, Russell had an open session on his mobile device. If there was only a green circle, it would show that he had an open session on his desktop. Once again, that's a setting that you can control from the settings and privacy area. So I can get a quick look at Russell. His profile looks professional, and then I can scroll down from there. Here's my friend Lori. Lori is in business development, insurance, and we just updated her LinkedIn profile. You can see that we wove in very specific keywords for her, things that she wanted to be known for. She's actually in a job search right now. So how her profile is set up is a little bit different than if she was working in business development right now. But you can see a nice background image, and these background images you can change as often as you would like. Here's another client and friend, John, in Dallas. Very strong background visual. Once again, I think this was absolutely created through Canva. And here he doesn't refer to his title, really more about how he brings value to his clients. So right from the start, I think all three of these individuals look very strong and they have a good personal brand that they're building out. So let's look at some tips. And as we go through these tips, just jot in the chat where you think you might need a little bit of enhancement to your LinkedIn profile. We really encourage and write a lot of LinkedIn profiles. So we encourage people to put them in the first person. It's much more engaging when it's in the first person. And I often say, and ask people, when was the last time you showed up to a networking event, which would have been a while ago now for all of us, and introduced yourself in the third person? We just wouldn't do that. So writing in the first person creates much more interest and it becomes more personal. Once again, we're not looking at this as a bio. So first person. Anybody here have a first person bio? I'm guessing you do. From there, I want you to really think about these 4 to 6 keywords. They should describe who you are and what you do. And these are not words such as experience, dynamic, results-oriented, creative, strategic, those buzzwords. Those words are not specific. And those words are the most overused words on LinkedIn. So it's not typically how we describe ourselves when we're talking to people. Remember, LinkedIn more now than ever is your digital handshake. It's that first impression. So think about how you would introduce and talk about yourself if you were in person. These keywords can absolutely be woven around your industry and your role. So think about, once again, those keywords, and we want them woven throughout your profile, not stuffed into your profile, but woven through narrative through your profile. Especially if you are in business development and sales, you need to create trust and interest. So while you may be one of the top performing sales and business development professionals in your industry, company, in the country, I don't want you to necessarily frame that, because if I'm a prospect and I come to your profile and see that, I might think, wow, I'm really going to get sold. Talk to your audience, and that is our next point. Write for your audience. So write for your client. How do you help solve their problems? What's your sweet spot? What is your company and your expertise the best at solving? This way, when somebody comes to your profile, they can see how you might be able to help them. Everybody agreeing so far? Are these areas that you could be using to enhance your LinkedIn profile? Just a yes, or got that already there? Just let me know. I love when I read LinkedIn profiles and I get a sense of somebody's personality. It could be in the words they choose. It could be in the tone. I love when personality comes out in your profile. Let your personality come out. In fact, if you're funny, you can be funny. If you don't know if you're funny, I would prefer that you test it at home with your children first. But think about how you can engage, right? That's the key. Once again, just like looking at resumes, after a few resumes, they all start to look and sound the same. Remember, I want you to stand out so that people remember who you are and people understand how you can help them. We write a lot of profiles for sales teams and leadership teams. So what we encourage is that your profile is highlighting you first, it's your profile, but toward the end of your about section, for example, you put in a description of your company or maybe a value proposition. Either way, one of those two will work well. And the reason is that if I'm on your company page and I start to look at several of you, if you're all saying the same thing about your company and your business unit or sort of your product line, then your marketing message looks very cohesive. If we're all saying something different about the company, it dilutes the marketing. And LinkedIn gives small to mid-sized companies a lot of room to actually look much larger than they are, because you can coordinate and manage this much easier than an enterprise level company can. I want you to keep your paragraphs super, super short. Maybe one line, 2 lines, or sentences. Why? Because once again, people are looking at your profile on their phone, and a regular size paragraph suddenly can look very dense and hard to scan and read. I want your profile built out so people can get through it quickly, pull out what they need. 8 seconds is the average time somebody will spend on your profile. How do we get them to spend 15 seconds, 20 seconds? Does anybody have any video, even if it's company video, capability video, an explainer video? Video is awesome to add to your profile. So I've been focused so far on the top portion of your LinkedIn profile, but I really need you to complete all the sections. So in the experience area, make sure you fill that in with more description. It gives you another area to reiterate those keywords. Once again, by the time we're done here, you'll be like, okay, I've got to figure out the keyword thing. And it is important. So if you've been in your industry for quite some time and you have multiple experiences, put a description in each of them, once again, looking at those keywords. Education, please make sure that this is updated, because this is a great place to start. On the business development side, this is actually a gold mine, and I'm going to show you how to look at your alumni network before we end today. And then LinkedIn has many other sections related to accomplishments, languages, organizations. So if you don't have your professional organizations on there, or BILT's not on there, please make sure that you're adding this information in. Certifications, great section. Very often, people will put that certification in as an acronym. While acronyms are great, you know what? They're better served by spelling them all out, so that the keywords, very often those acronyms include great keywords. So use the full name spelled out and then put the acronym at the end. This way, you'll get the benefit, but people will know exactly what that stands for. Courses, test scores, these are all areas that you can add to your profile. So put those different sections in there. So once again, people can scan very quickly. Do not forget recommendations. I love recommendations. Ask for some and make some. Be a good social citizen on LinkedIn, and certainly reach out and make some recommendations for a client, a colleague. That goes a long way. All right, I'm going to jump over to LinkedIn and just come in. I want to show you a couple of things within LinkedIn. So here I'm on my homepage, which everybody certainly will recognize because that's where you log in and land. So here I'm going to go to me, settings and privacy. Are we good? Is everybody good? Any questions, comments? Just drop those in the chat as we go along. The 2 areas in the settings and privacy area that we really do want to spend some time on are in the account tab, privacy tab, and communications. And the communications tab is very layered. It's probably going to take about 10 minutes to go through, but it will make a difference in how you engage on LinkedIn. One of the areas in the privacy section that I want to look at, and I definitely want you to turn this off. There's two. I'm going to just talk about two for a second. Who can see your connections? This is where you decide if you have an open network on LinkedIn or a closed network. And what I want you to think about is, in an open network, if you and I are connected, I can see everybody in your network. And while that's good for networking, you do need to be kind of thoughtful and mindful of who's in your network and should they be seeing one another. So mine, you can see, is closed. Mine says only you. The reason I've done that, I'm connected to lots of C-level people and lots of business owners and presidents of companies. And I'm also connected to a lot of sales professionals. So I want to keep the integrity of my network pretty strong. So I've just closed my network down. I make introductions all the time on LinkedIn, and closing my network down has not hindered that in any way. So if you have customers and suppliers, you might want to think about closing down your network. If you have a lot of C-level people and a lot of salespeople, you might want to think about just tempering that a little bit. The one thing I absolutely want you to take a look at today is viewers of this profile also viewed. And I'm going to just show you what I mean by this. So I am going to just choose somebody. I don't know if I'm going to see. Okay, perfect. Doesn't always happen on the first go round. So here's my friend Gina Ramsey. Notice when I'm looking at Gina's profile, I can also see that people who looked at Gina's profile also viewed these other people. Please turn this off because you don't control that. So when someone is on your profile, I want them only to be focused on you. These could be other sales professionals in your company. They could be competitors. They could be completely random. So it doesn't benefit you to have all of these other people. Conversely, go to some of your clients that you're connected to and look at their profile and see who these people might be, because sometimes that's a great source of new people to connect with, because they could be similar to your client and they could become somebody that not only should you connect to, but could potentially do business with. So does anybody use people also viewed as a prospecting area? Because if not, it is absolutely a great way to find other people like your current. Terrific. I'm seeing a couple of yeses there. Awesome. Perfect. But make sure it's turned off for you, okay? Definitely don't want that for you. I want you to be really focused with your profile. Okay, I am now going to show you how to download your first level connections. Yes, stalk them, haha. In LinkedIn, stalking is really research. We're always doing research. So scroll down, and I would like you to take a look at get a copy of your data. So get a copy of your data. This is where we're going to download your first level network, and I'm going to show you what that looks like. So we're going to choose want something in particular and connections. You're going to request an archive. You're going to drop your password in. You're going to hit done. And it's going to take about 10 or 15 minutes. It says, we'll send you an email when your download is ready. You're going to click on that link. It's going to bring you right back to this area. And it will then say, download archive. You're going to click on that. It's going to download to wherever your downloads go. It'll be in a zip file. You'll double click on that zip file. you'll open up that folder and it'll be a CSV file. When you click on the CSV file, it will open up into an Excel spreadsheet. Here you'll see, and so here's an example, it's just really kind of a dummy file. First name, last name, company, position, and when you connected with them. So we want to start to look at these first level connections, because while I'm all about expanding your network, you need to know who you're already connected to. I guarantee you there are opportunities in your current network that are untouched and untapped. This is the network that our clients who are in sales and business development have been talking to over the last 4 months. So the very first thing we'll do is we will sort this by position. And in position, if you have 500, 1,000, 2,000, we don't want you to go line by line. I want you to go to your ideal client title. And by the way, please do this across your teams, because if you have a salesperson who's supposed to be calling on CFOs and they only have 24 CFOs as a result of this download, then we know we need to really amp up how many CFOs we're connecting to, right? So there's a lot of takeaways from this. You can also sort it by company. So very often we do that as a second. Okay, right now I am if you just stay with me on the screen, I'm just walking through the download of the Excel spreadsheet. I know I'm going quickly. We have lots to cover. So here, what I want to do once I sort it by position or by company, and on the company side, what's interesting is that in an average B2B buying decision, there are 5.4 people involved. So maybe you start to analyze your network by, in my top 20 or 30 or 50 clients, I notice I'm only connected to one person. And then maybe my action item is, ooh, who else should I be connected to? Who else is an influencer and a decision maker? Should I ask my marketing person to download and share her contacts with me? I am the CEO. Absolutely. Absolutely. So here, what we want to do is once we sort it by position or company, I want you to come in and add some new columns to the front of that spreadsheet. Your columns may look different ultimately, but for right now, let's start with some of these suggestions. The first one, know, reach out, KNOW. These are the people I know I haven't talked to in a while. This is where a lot of our clients have been really focused over the last 4 months. They get a very personalized message because whatever it is you know about them or have in common or have worked with them, whatever it might be, these are soft touches. We want to use LinkedIn not only to connect, but to stay in contact with people. So this is a really important group. The next column, should know better. You met them at a conference last year, you provided a proposal, nothing happened, whatever it might be, should know better, and they get a different message than the people you know well. C, prospects. Please connect with prospects as quickly as possible. If they have open networks, you might see if they're connected to any of your competitors, which then might frame how you ask questions, present to them, put something in your proposal. There's a lot of intel there. Clients, customers, COIs, really some of my favorite people in my network. These are my centers of influence. These are the people who have great networks. I know, like, and trust them. They know, like, and trust me. They will make introductions. Identify 6 to 10 COIs. And by the way, if you're in sales and business development, become a COI, right? Talk to your clients, ask them who they need to know, how you can help them meet new people. Some of those people may be in a new job search. How can your network help them? They'll remember. Organizations, maybe a professional organization, maybe Built goes in here, and you start to realize, am I connected to other people in other chapters? Company information, right? If you have a larger size company, multiple locations, am I connecting internally? Ultimately, the goal is to be connecting externally, but there might be a column. And then delete. We can delete people from our networks. They are not notified. So, for example, the question that I just answered about the marketing person downloading their connections, absolutely. If you're the CEO, it might be a really great idea to look at your top, I don't know, once again, 50, 100 clients and customers. And why don't you connect with the CEO of those organizations and simply say, thanks for connecting. And I'm sorry, thanks for doing business with us. Would love the opportunity to connect. Jana, why delete anyone? They may change careers. Absolutely. So when I say delete, once again, if you've changed industries, we do that for a very specific reason, because we need to tell LinkedIn that we're no longer in that previous industry. If they're super random, you have no idea who they are, they're, you know, no way relevant to a network, to your network, that's why I would delete them. And remember, you don't want to just delete randomly, because even though somebody else may not do business with you, they may have a good network. And those people, those second level connections, and then thereby third level connections are awesome to be connected with. So Jana, good question. So this is an exercise that I hope that you will take a look at. All of our clients go through this exercise because it's very important to see who you're currently connected to, where there's opportunities and where there are gaps. Do you keep competitors in your network after you've researched their connections? I have some friendly competitors in my network, but by and large, if they are like philosophically very different than we are, I don't typically recommend connecting with competitors. If a salesperson leaves your organization, they go to a competitor, I would probably disengage from that person. So that's personal. Building your network is all about what your ultimate objective is for LinkedIn. Do you follow a competitor's company page? Absolutely. You should be following company pages for your customers, clients, and those competitors. Absolutely. Are we good on this? I want to take just 5 minutes now and show you how to do some really good Boolean searches. Assume you are using premium. Is that essential? So let's talk about that for a second. Great question. Right now, I'm in LinkedIn.com using the basic version of LinkedIn.com. Probably 80 to 85% of the people we coach and train are on the basic version of LinkedIn. Premium is an upgrade. We actually do not recommend premium. We haven't for the last couple of years. And the reason is that LinkedIn took the best features out of premium and they're only available in Sales Navigator. Sales Navigator is the tool designed for business development and sales. If you are going to use LinkedIn very intentionally for that purpose, we highly recommend Sales Navigator. On average, it's about $20 more per month, depending on your version of premium and how long you've had that. But it is definitely worth the additional $20. You can do lots with Sales Navigator. It is LinkedIn's second most powerful product next to LinkedIn Recruiter. So now I'm back in LinkedIn. And by the way, one additional piece on Sales Navigator. If you're a premium member and you are going to move to Sales Navigator, downgrade to basic first, then purchase or do your trial of Sales Navigator, because it is not an upgrade of premium. It is a separate product. So if you don't cancel premium first and downgrade, you'll pay for two products, and you don't need to do that. Will you cover the important features in Sales Navigator? I can do that at the end for a couple minutes. I'll make sure that we can fit that in. So let's do some searches. And once again, this is available to everyone. I'm going to actually drop this search string in the chat so that you can all grab it and use it as you need to modify your search. And your search obviously may be different. And I'm going to do one piece right now. I'm just going to drop this in. So I'm going to take my search string and I'm going to explain my search string here. And I'm dropping it in my search bar, which is where I'm going to start. This is pulling from the relevancy of my network. So this is why it's really important to have a specific type of network so that LinkedIn can pull those first, second, and third level and group members and build my results from those. We're not talking about groups today, but if you need to jumpstart your network, joining groups is a great way to do that. So you'll see under people, I have almost 43 million results. Not bad. So I'm going to come up here to the top. I'm just going to go to all filters, and I'm going to show you what I am looking for. So if I wanted to look at my first level, because in my first level, I do not see location, this is where I would do that. I would do first level, and I would come in because I'm in Baltimore, and I would put Baltimore, and I might say industry, for example, but right now I'm just going to look because I put my search in here. I'm just going to hit apply so I can see I have 1,500 chief executive officers or CEOs or presidents or owners that I'm connected to. Okay, so the way the search string works is I'm building it out so that LinkedIn sees it as one whole search. And so I'm just going to come back, just hitting my back button here, going back to all my filters. Because I've already looked at my first level, I actually want to identify second level. Who are the people I should be potentially connecting to? And I might say, I'll just apply that right now. So you'll see we went from 42 million people down to 1 million, still a whole lot of people. So now I might come in and once again say Baltimore. I can only get to my geography. So a particular geographical area. In Sales Navigator, I can get down to zip codes. And I might say, you know what? I want to see all of those CEOs, business owners in Baltimore, second level connections in IT. So now I'm going to 2,700. So I keep getting this smaller and smaller. If this looks good and I'm kind of looking at this, okay, and this looks pretty good, but maybe I think that at the end, there might be some vice presidents in here. I'm going to actually come into the end of my search string and I'm going to put a hyphen and I'm going to put in the word vice president. And you'll see vice president, just like chief executive officer, I have them in quotations. And then for those quotations, that tells LinkedIn to see it as a phrase, not a individual word. And that's what we need to have happen. So now I'm going from 2,700 to 1,800. So now, why is World Vista showing up on the right side by Google? It's probably your, so somebody had a question, why is Vistage Worldwide showing up on the right side by Google, etc. It's probably, it could be an ad. I'm not seeing what you're seeing, but it's, my guess is it's probably an ad. So here, now if I like the search, I'm going to come in and I'm going to save my search. So I'm going to create a search alert. I'm going to save this search. And then on a weekly basis, LinkedIn will give me an update of anybody who comes into my network based on this search. This is very important. Save the 3 searches that you're allotted if you're a basic member, or the additional searches if you're a premium member. Why do I want to save the searches? It just makes it a whole lot easier. You don't have to redo them every time, remember all the criteria. Put them in, have LinkedIn work on your behalf. So you will see then that, for example, if I come in to manage, here's my search string, and here's the new people that have come into that updated search alert on a weekly basis. So I want to use this to my benefit. You can edit it, you can delete it and start over, but save these searches. And then you start to look at these people How are you getting new people? Personal meetings. So first I'm just doing the search. Then I'm going to look at these people and I can see how I'm connected to them, right? So I can see Jerome. I don't know Jerome. We have 34 common connections. Ed Mullen is one of my COIs. I can ask him for an introduction. You'll notice that there are these random connect buttons. Please do not click those. So what I'm going to do, if I'm interested in talking to Daniel, I'm going to come in, look at his profile. I'm going to hit connect from here. So Daniel has it set up that I need to know his email address. So I can't just connect with him. Once I find his email address, I can reach out to him. Because I'm using Sales Navigator, I can probably connect to him through Sales Navigator. Let me just come back. Let's choose somebody else. Let's try Mike. Once again, connect, add a note. And I use messaging, and I'm going to personalize that connection request. If somebody could spend $100 with you or $1 million with you, I think they deserve a personalized connection request. This is where we see a lot of people trying to use automation, and the automation does go wonky very quickly because it presumes that the search is always right, and it's not. So we want to be really, really careful. So I might connect with Mike. So Janet, going back to your question, might connect with Mike, try to spark a conversation. And then I might say, if you're open to talking, I do like to know the people in my network. Let's set up a time to have a conversation via phone or set up a Zoom call. If you have content on your company page, might be a great way to say, and by the way, here's a recent article. Here is a post that we recently did. We're doing a webinar. I'd like to personally invite you. So you want to try to figure out who's going to respond through LinkedIn. And there are certain things that tell us, number one, they're a premium member. They have good content. They have built out networks. And so I'm looking for those indicators that will tell me LinkedIn is a tool that they're using and respond to. The goal is ultimately to get connected to those people who can be prospects and ultimately clients. Once you're connected with them, you typically will have their email address through their contact information. Then if they don't respond through LinkedIn, maybe you send them a personalized email. If you know who they are, you can look them up, find a phone number. So we're still talking about calling and using email. Lead with LinkedIn, test it, and see if you can get further faster, if you can shorten that sales cycle. Go to your company page or a prospect's company page, for example. So if I go to, let's say, Jordan and, right? So if I come here and I just pop in Jordan and Scala, I can see they have 275 employees, and I can start searching through the employees and start to look at who I should potentially be connecting with here as well. And once again, I can apply some filters to that. I can put a title in. So we can look by company, we can look by a search string that might include a title. So we have about 4 minutes left, and I want to just take you through some additional next steps. And what I'm hoping is that you're finding one thing from today's session that you can work on. Is everybody walking away with 1 or 2 ideas for how they can enhance their LinkedIn presence? I'd love to hear that. Terrific. Perfect. Love it. All right, let's talk about next steps. Craft a plan. Put LinkedIn on your calendar and honor that just like you would a meeting. Put 20 minutes on there. If you're already doing 20 minutes or 30 minutes, maybe you put an hour or an extra day. Please block out this time. Have a plan, get super familiar with LinkedIn so you know what to do, where to go, and how to do it very quickly. I really want you to develop your personal brand, your profile. I want you to stand out so people remember you. People know how you can help them. That is absolutely critical. Go through the exercise that we talked about today. Look at your first level connections. I absolutely guarantee that there will be action items out of this, that there are opportunities here. Think about the content, and maybe your company's creating content, or if not, go to some industry company pages or publishers, for example, and look at the content that they're creating and start to share content. The key to content is be consistent. Have a variety of content. You should never be posting more than 20% promotional content because it begins to wear people down. So give a shout out to a client, give a shout out to somebody else. Do something that is not just about you and your company. What I want you to do is go for significance, not social influence. It's not about having the biggest network. It's about having the right network of people you can be doing business with. And the more you personalize your engagement on LinkedIn, the better the results. We see this with our clients over and over again. We have a client that we started working with last week. She has over a 40% connection response rate. That is awesome. And it's because her messaging was personal. It was authentic, sounded like her, and she took the time to not sound automated and corporate, and it works. So the more you personalize, the better it is. So the questions, I have 3 questions for you. How do you currently present to a digital social world? How can you extend your presence and brand messaging through LinkedIn? I know every one of you can. And will you actually do something as a result of today's session? That is perhaps the most important question. Do one thing, test it. Lots of testing on LinkedIn. If you need more information, we have a mastery program, an online learning platform, which will walk you through in much greater detail everything we've talked about today. I hope you'll connect with me, and if you have any questions, please reach out. If there's anything we can do to support your efforts, please let us know. It's great to be with you today, and I think we are right at the top of the hour. Thanks for participating.